Hi, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, whole food plant based culinary coach, and master herbalist. And I'm here with Dan, an exercise specialist and fellow master herbalist. Each week, we dive into the science and tradition behind natural healing to help you feel empowered, energized, and aligned with your body's natural rhythms. Today's topic could be a little bit controversial for some people, but it is definitely one that we need to pay close attention to. Heart disease is the number one killer in the United States. And today we're going to talk about the link between animal foods and heart disease. So we're not here to judge anyone. We're not looking at your plates. We're not telling you stop eating that or pointing any fingers. But we really want to talk about what the research says and why more doctors are steering us towards plants and away from animal products.
Yes, fine. It's about time they start to educate the public more because it's actually heart disease is the number one killer worldwide. So of course, there are a few places that are plant-based that are not dying of heart disease, but we're talking America, places like Europe.
All the developed countries.
Yeah, basically the ones that have fast food and all these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the science is becoming more clear that diets that are high in animal foods, especially red meats and processed meats, are a major risk factor for developing heart disease. There's studies showing now that if you eat a diet heavy in these foods, your body starts to lay down plaque.
Right.
And so,
And building up in the arteries.
yeah.
Yeah, and so there have been many, many, many different studies, including the EPIC study, the Adventist health studies. Those are all showing that people who eat a diet rich in animal fats, which we think, okay, animal fat, we think about pork and stuff like that, but we also have to think about dairy. Dairy, especially cheeses. I mean, those are just saturated fat. Cheese is saturated fat. And then cholesterol. So cholesterol is only found in animal products. And we do need cholesterol. So we do get that argument quite often. However, your body creates cholesterol. You don't need to take it in from your foods, your body will create it itself. And one of the things that people fail to recognize is how much fat is in chicken. Even if you're eating chicken breast, they are so high in fats, harmful fats, fats that are harmful for the heart.
Yes, and chicken, they say it's the white meat. They try to sell it as a healthier alternative, but not only is it full of fat and cholesterol, there's studies showing that if you eat a lot of chicken, it increases your risk of developing stomach cancer.
Right. Yeah. So chicken for stomach cancer, pork for colon cancer, and then all of it plus cheese for heart disease.
hmm
Yeah.
And then
Choose
there's this
yours.
and then there's a nerdy thing about something called TMAO, trimethylene and oxide. So when we eat animal foods, especially red meat and eggs, our gut bacteria convert those into TMAO, and this causes inflammation and damages our blood vessels, the lining, or what the endothelium of the blood vessels, the lining. Dr. Esselstyn talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're just setting yourself up for well, heart disease.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing
And
is,
cancer. Right. Right.
yeah, but
Mhm.
some people will never give up their animal food. But I would say, look, okay, well, let's look at the Chinese. They're still healthy, some of the rural guys out there. And sometimes they do have animal food, but it is rare and it is small portions.
Yeah. More like a condiment.
Yeah, it's a condiment and it's based around a plant-based meal. It
Yeah.
seems like you can get away with that, but you can't get away with eating a 1 pound steak every day.
Exactly. Yeah. But even in the blue zones, they show, the places where they eat mostly plants,
hmm
occasional meat, and in the like the Seventh Day Adventist that also was mentioned earlier on this podcast, they show that the farther people are on the scale between eating animal products and not eating any animal products, the higher they are up to eating closer to a vegan or vegan diet, the healthier they are and longer living.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that sounds great to me.
Yeah, I mean, why not? So, yeah, so it's like it was Dr. McDougall used to always say, and maybe it was him. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the diet that helps prevent heart disease is the diet that helps prevent cancer, is the
Yeah.
diet that helps with prevent type 2 diabetes, is the diet that helps with longevity. So, we don't have to choose a diet.
Yeah. It's the
Right.
same diet that helps the body because I just truly believe that the evidence shows that we are plant-based. I mean, that's everybody says, what diet should we eat? Well, it seems like for a human, it's plant-based. I mean, there's so much research now and
Right.
so many testimonials of people who have switched over and most of their diseases got better or went away. It's like you hear it every time, you know?
Yes, I was looking this morning on it popped up on my Facebook feed. Something that I posted several years ago was 90% of Americans do not eat the required amount of plants a day. And so I started thinking about that. And so I posted a few years ago. Well, it's still true today. 90% of Americans do not eat enough the recommended plants a day. So the recommended a day plants is 25% fiber. So why am I saying plants when I say that? Plants are the only thing that contain fiber. So if you're eating that meat's chewy. Like I remember when I ate meat, we'd eat roast and you'd be chewing on the roast for a while and it had those fibrous meat pieces. Which side note, someone the other day told one of my clients they needed to stop eating carcasses, which my favorite words. So that carcass, that's not fiber. It feels like fiber. It's stuck in your teeth, but that's not fiber. We only get fiber from plants. And the daily recommended allowance for women, I think, is 25 grams a day, and for men is 35 grams a day. And so, if 90% of Americans aren't eating that, that's setting us up for a disaster to begin with. You know, Years ago, a man and people who are tribal now, they eat closer to 150 to 200 grams of fiber. So if 90% of Americans aren't even eating 25 grams of fiber, and we were raised eating 175 grams of fiber, you can see that's a huge difference. How many more plants were they eating compared to now? And all I do is eat plants. I only eat plants. And so it's just crazy to me that people don't eat that. My breakfast is more fiber than I need than the requirement in a day. And those daily requirements, I'm getting off on a tangent, but those daily requirements, those are what you need to survive. Those are not what you need to thrive. And so if you're not even eating the 25 grams a day, let's make that your number one goal. Your number one goal needs to be to eat at least those 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day, and then you can slowly increase it. When you are adding that, when you're increasing your fiber, you also need to be increasing your water because fiber will swell and it can slow down your digestion. And we need to drink plenty of water to help make sure that that fiber moves along. If you're not eating those 25 grams of fiber regularly and you decide you're going to eat 100 grams of fiber today, you're going to have a lot of gas and bloating because just like when we're outside, if you've ever planted a garden, which I know not all of our listeners plant a garden, I live on a farm, but when we plant some vegetables out in the garden or flowers, anything, herbs, if I'm planting stuff out in the garden, it doesn't have the bugs that my plants need to thrive at the beginning. As the seed starts to sprout, as the plant starts to grow, the bugs that are needed to help provide the nutrients for the plant, they appear and they start growing. The same thing happens in our intestines. So if I'm not eating the daily recommended 25 grams of fiber a day, I don't have the gut bugs I need to break down those fibers. But those bugs that are needed to break down those fibers are also the bugs that are needed to help me create neurotransmitters. A lot of our depression, now there are people who do have, mental health needs. They do need to seek the help of a mental health provider, but it would also help them to increase their fiber to feed the bugs that nourish the right gut bugs to help with their neurotransmitters. We have an axis that goes between the brain and the intestines. We want to feed those gut bugs to help us, with sleep, with producing GABA, which helps with relaxation, helps with anxiety. And so it's not just adding more fiber so we can poop. we're adding more fiber to help create vitamins and minerals and nutrients. Like, did you know that your body is supposed to help you create those things? It's not just getting them in through the diet. Those gut bugs help us create those as well. So I really got off on a tangent, but I'm just wanting to really stress that you really have to eat a, a minimum of the 25 to 35 grams of fiber just to survive. The carnivore is crap. Carnivore is not serving you. Carnivore is killing you. You might feel good right at the start because you eliminated processed foods. You've got to get rid of carnivore. You've got to eat more plants.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. And I think it's one reason the plant-based diet is so powerful because of the fiber, because we have to
Mhm.
have it to keep our ecosystem inside nourished, because that's the only thing that our gut bugs live on is fiber. So, and of course, the other benefit that I love to talk about, and another benefit, not the other, another benefit is it helps lower your blood pressure. It helps balance your blood sugar, lower your cholesterol. The weight comes off easier. It reduces the risk of heart disease, but like I say, Caldwell Esselstyn said not only can it prevent heart disease, but he's had cases where the heart disease actually reversed. We're talking about some of the plaque would just dissolve, which is
Yes,
supposed to
yes.
be impossible, but it's not.
Yes, amen. I mean, they showed pictures, and Dr. Khan shares this sometimes too. Dr. Furman, he also talks about this too. They'll show scans where there's blockages in the arteries, in the veins, and they put people on a vegan diet. Now, I don't like to use the word vegan. I'm whole food plant based. For some reason, vegans are like almost political. And so maybe you are vegan and that's fine. And I'm not judging you. I'm just saying I don't like to use the word personally for me. But anyway, they put someone on a completely whole food plant based diet, only plants. All they eat is plants. And those clots dissolve.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a client right now. She's not perfect,
Hmm.
but she was getting her carotid arteries checked. She gets those checked on a regular basis for plaque, and she has 70% block. And recently it was down to, I think it was down 19 points. So it was down to, do the math, about around 50.
Hmm.
And
That's
so,
amazing.
she's more plant-based, but she's also taking a few herbs that I recommend, and I know they have something to do with it as well. But yeah, but
Yeah.
this is another example. This can happen. You can get a regression of plaque.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and we're not just making this crap up. You can do your own research and
Oh
find all of
yeah.
this. Yeah, they show you angiograms showing the arterial plaques. Like, look up Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, and he shows you the scans. He only works with the people that other doctors have given up on. The doctors
Yeah.
say, they've already had surgeries, they've had so many things going, and their doctors are throwing their hands up in the air saying, "There's nothing else we can do." And that's who he works with, and he meets with them in their I don't know if he still does. He was meeting with them in his house. They would eat a meal together, showing them how to eat, which is what I want to do. I'm a culinary coach. I want to help all of you cook healthy and reverse heart disease. I want to show you how to cook that way. That's my passion and my purpose. And so that's what Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn would do. And then he would show over time the ones who actually did it, they would have reversals and they would be living, doctors would say, you're doomed. And these people would be outliving far much longer than what the doctors would tell them.
Oh yeah. Some of them live 30 years, 30 more years or more. Some of them are still alive and they're old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to say to yourself, is the Big Mac worth my life, my health, my longevity?
Right.
I mean, I'm serious. It's
Yes.
not, because you may think, oh, I'm going to keep eating what I want, but think about this. So you're going to be sitting there, I'm going to eat what I want, but then one day you go to the doctor and they tell you something you don't want to hear. You have heart disease, you have high blood pressure, high
Mhm.
cholesterol. You can avoid all that.
Yeah. Or maybe you don't even hear it
Yeah.
because most people find out they had heart disease when they have a fatal heart attack.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. And so if that's your first sign is a fatal heart attack, let's not wait for that,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, so let's talk about some foods, specific foods. And so number one, just eating whole foods. Eat plants, eat plants, eat plants, eat plants, right? and get rid
Mhm.
of the animal products. And, like you said before we even got on the call, and you haven't said it yet, but I was hoping you would, was, people who think that they can eat meat 3 times a day, why are you thinking that that's gonna work,
Well,
right?
you don't even need that. It's ridiculous. The body does not need meat 3 times a day.
No, not the body doesn't need meat at all during the day.
Exactly, exactly. We can live on very small amounts of protein. See, protein's the big buzzword now. I'm going to tell you
Yes,
this. It's not backed by science. If you look at real science, it will show you that a high protein diet is actually detrimental to human health.
right,
I mean, I
right.
still bodybuild and I can get just, I mean, I'm 47. I can still bench press a good bit of weight. I'm still big, if you're worried about that.
Mhm.
So, oh yeah, I should have pulled it. There's a new study. Speaking about this, a new study showing now, without a doubt, they took a group of people and they were putting them on weightlifting. A group that gave them animal protein and a group that only got plant protein. And the results were the same as far as muscle building, but the internal health, as we're talking about this morning, is completely different. The
Yeah.
meat-based people are going to start getting higher cholesterol. The plant-based people, their cholesterol is going to go down. And if they have plaque, it may start to regress. So you can build just as much muscle and keep your heart healthy at the same time. Who would have thought, right?
Right, right, and something we didn't mention, I was thinking we talked about it last week, but I could be totally wrong. I get my weeks confused, but is recovery. And so recovery is also better on a plant-based diet.
Yes, less inflammation.
Less inflammation and soreness. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, like I said, there are pro athletes now that are switching to whole food plant-based because their performance gets better.
Yes.
We're talking
Yes.
about like NFL, NBA, hockey players. I mean, these people, that's our whole livelihood is their performance, and a lot of them are switching. So what does that tell you?
Right.
It should tell you a lot.
Yes, we need to stop using the word protein. We need to stop using the words carbohydrates, and we need to stop using the word protein because those are too broad. We need to eat plants, not processed foods. Processed foods are carbohydrates. We need to eat plants. They're also carbohydrates, but we need plants, not processed food. The same thing with protein. We need protein, but we need amino acids. Amino acids are part of protein. We don't need protein. We don't need meat. We need amino acids, and the amino acids are in every plant, and we recycle amino acids. And so it used to be, I know back when I got my master's in the 90s, we thought you had to combine to get all the amino acids, but we recycle amino acids. You don't have to get them all in the same meal, even though we do have several plants that do provide all amino acids that you need. You don't have to eat them all in the same meal because we recycle them and repurpose them. And so that's all bunked.
Yeah, I try to tell my clients to focus on healthy plant foods
Mhm.
that are full of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all the good things. Think about healing.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a weight loss coach, but I'm different. I'm like, think about healing your body
Yes.
and the weight
Yes.
comes off.
And eat until you're full.
Yes.
Yes, when you're eating plants, you can't eat a measly salad. I had one where I've been eating, I'm out of town this week and going to different restaurants, and people do still serve that measly. Like the other night I ordered the side salad and it was iceberg lettuce with a little bit of tomato, 2 slices of cucumber. That is not a salad. That's not a salad. That's not a salad.
Uh,
And so make sure that you're eating a complete meal. You can't eat that and then say that was your lunch. That's crap. That was probably 100 calories. That's not going to hold anybody. That's not going to provide. That provides nothing for you,
well,
right?
that's why you see these people. I failed on a plant-based diet. I'm telling you,
Hmm.
the number one reason is because they're not eating enough calories to support their body. You have to eat more food. You have to eat more because plant-based foods are lower in calories, so you have to eat more. I
Hmm.
recommend using was it chronometer or
Chronometer. Yeah, I love
chronometer?
it. Yeah, I don't know how
That's
you say
a
it, but
good
yeah.
place
Hmm.
to start tracking and make sure you're getting enough calories, So,
Yes. Yeah, that's a fabulous thing. And I meant to mention that earlier because it can also tell you about your fiber. Did you get enough fiber today?
oh yeah.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit more. So, like nuts and seeds and greens, they are superfoods for the heart. Now, some doctors say don't eat the nuts. Some doctors say do eat the nuts. I am a big proponent for nuts, but we have also need to eat the right combination. Number one, eating almonds is going to be much better than eating almond butter or drinking almond milk. Almonds are a whole food and it takes you a long time to chew them. And as you're chewing, you're not going to mash everything up together. Some of those are going to actually pass through your body. So that's going to help with your microbiome, but it's also going to be eliminating. So you're not absorbing all those fats. Almond butter, you don't have to chew as much. More of those fats are going to be absorbed. And then almond milk, all of that's going to be absorbed. And it's a processed food. So we're going from a whole food, the almond, to a less whole food, the almond butter, to a processed food in the almond milk. And so if you're going to eat nuts, then, crack them and eat them. It takes you longer, you get fuller eating them, you're not going to eat as much. Another thing about the nuts, like if I'm making almond butter, if you've ever made a nut butter before, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. And so 1 tablespoon of almond butter, I don't remember how many almonds that would be. You might not be able to eat all those almonds. I mean, you're going to be really, really full if you eat the almonds it takes to make a tablespoon of almond butter. However, you could easily eat a couple of tablespoons of almond butter. And so that's just my thing when it comes to nuts.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because the bodybuilding world, if they're trying to gain weight, they'll use peanut butter because
Yeah.
it's so high. You could just a
Yeah.
few tablespoons, you already have 400 calories. So yeah, it's better to eat whole foods like we talk about whole foods.
Yes. Yeah, and seeds. I'm a huge proponent for seeds. So flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds. So hemp seeds are wonderful. They're almost perfect as far as the omega-3 to omega-6 balance. And if you're not familiar with that, then you can look it up. We have other episodes as well. But they're very, very anti-inflammatory. They're also wonderful for your brain and your heart, and they help cool inflammation. And so chia seeds, flax seeds, and hemp seeds, key, and walnuts. With those, I keep them in the freezer because those omega-3 fatty acids are very fragile. And so we don't want them to go rancid because that can create inflammation. So keep them in the freezer. And if you've ever had flax seeds, they have a very, very, very hard shell where if you don't grind them, they're going to pass through your body. You're not going to get those wonderful oils. And so I grind mine. I have a coffee grinder that's just for grinding my flax seeds. So I grind my flax seeds and keep those in the freezer because if they're ground, they're going to go rancid even faster. So keep them in the freezer, but sprinkle a tablespoon, not a teaspoon, a tablespoon of flax seeds, a tablespoon of chia seeds, whatever, or 2 tablespoons or combination on your breakfast or on a salad or blend them into a smoothie. It's a wonderful way to get them. And those fats are so good for us for hormone balancing and for brain health as well.
Yes. I love my flax seeds.
Me too.
I do like
And then
hemp hearts too.
yes, yeah, I love hemp seeds. I just had a bunch right before we got on here. With
Yeah.
blueberries, another heart healthy
Oh,
food.
oh,
Yes.
blueberries. I could eat those all day.
Very high in antioxidants. So any of those colorful foods, bright reds, bright oranges, bright purples, those are going to be fabulous. And our dark leafy greens, leafy greens, leafy greens, leafy greens. And so finding ways to get those in. If you already have heart disease, I would recommend trying to figure out how to get your greens in at every single meal. They're that important. High in chlorophyll, wonderful for helping reverse plaques, wonderful for helping the endothelial lining of the arteries and the veins.
Yes, I'm always a proponent of getting whole food plant-based cookbooks. I can recommend some that have really tasty recipes. I mean, even your meat eating family will love them. I've had Thanksgivings where the guy come up, he's like, this is delicious. I'm like, yeah, I know. It can't, I mean, it really is. I'm not, because I love to
Yes,
eat. I love food. And this is some of the best tasting food I've ever had. I can honestly say that.
right, right.
So don't worry about it. I think it's the reason a lot of people don't try this. They're afraid they're going to have to give up tasty food, but you don't have
Yes,
to.
right, right. And then think about, what are the consequences? So, how many people do you know have died from eating plant-based and not eating meat?
None.
No, I've never met anyone that died because they weren't eating meat. But how many people do you know are dying from meat-related diseases?
I've already lost people to that. Yeah, so many
Yeah,
people.
right. People are not dying from a meat deficiency,
No.
right? They're dying from saturated fats. They're dying from processed meats. They're dying from not getting enough fiber in their diet, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we
We
have
know and go ahead, Jen.
no, we have to focus on the plant.
Yeah, and people are waking up. I saw a survey this week that over 50% of Americans are interested in trying a plant-based diet because they're seeing the research, they're seeing there's a lot of people like you and me out there teaching, and they're like, wow, if I could be here and have a better, healthier life, I could be here longer for my kids. I could see
Yeah.
my grandkids grow up even, and I could be healthy, not some decrepit old person on a walker. You can actually thrive throughout your old age on this diet. I mean, look at Esselstyn. He's 90, 95, and he's still teaching across
Yes,
the world.
amazing. Yes, yeah. Think about your family. Think about your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents. How did they spend the last 10 years of their life?
Hmm.
And how are they eating? Are you eating the same way they were? And do you want to live the same way they did the last 10 years of their life? Or did they die from a sudden heart attack, which happens so much too? Sometimes we have to make changes. We have to think about the consequences, right? And you don't have to change everything overnight. I know we started with meatless Mondays, and that was back at probably 2001, 2002. And then it got to where it was meatless 3 nights a week. And then it got to where it was meatless 5 days a week. And so then it was really easy to get rid of the meat. For my family, it was the cheese. My oldest child and my husband, they both were very threatened by having cheese removed from their diets. And then when they both finally decide, well, my oldest still does do dairy, but my husband decided in 2017, I'm not having dairy anymore, and he still hasn't. So if you think you can't eat this way, my husband's a farmer on a small farm. We do organic farming, and he does everything by hand. If you're into weightlifting and you've seen the farmer carry, my husband does that literally on a regular basis. And so he doesn't need meat. He doesn't need animal products to thrive. It's been 8 years, right? You can still be healthy and strong. So meatless Monday, finding ways you can increase vegetables at each meal. How can I add another plant or seed or fruit to this dish?
Yes, make it fun. Fun is fundamental. We learned that, didn't we?
Yes, yes, yes. And one of the ways I used to teach, I started out my business when I decided that this really is my passion and purpose, teaching children. And the best way to teach children to eat more plants and eat healthier is to focus on the color on your plate. And so anytime you sit down at a meal, do you have all the colors of the rainbow? And if not, what could you add to it? And so my daughter, who's now 19, when she comes over, she's still like, Mom, we're missing orange or we're missing yellow or something. And so if you can teach children early, it makes it fun when they're a kid. And then as they grow up, they're like, you know what? We need more colors to make this more nutritious. And that, once again, the diet that helps prevent cancer, prevents heart disease, prevents aging, it's just gonna be better overall.
Yes, I think that's what I like about it. We don't have a lot of control over most of our lives, but we do have a big control over our health, and that's it's good for your mental health too when you know at least I'm healthy. I know there's a lot of stuff that could happen, but I
Mhm.
can keep my health good. I have control over that,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, and how much energy do you have? If you eat,
Oh yeah.
I think back, I was a huge meat eater, so if you think that I wasn't, that I've always eaten this way, you're completely wrong. I was a I would eat a hamburger and a hot dog at dinner. I was a meat 3 times a day kind of person, and I wasn't as big as into cheese as the rest of my family, but I did eat cheese. Like, when it was time to give up cheese, I was like, had no idea how to make a meal that didn't have cheese because we had cheese on everything, even though I wasn't a big cheese lover, but I ate lots of meat. And so it is definitely doable. I know Dan has a challenge coming up, so watch for him. You can go to danthenaturalman.com to find out more about his program that helps you eat whole food plant-based. I also have lots of resources at holisticgen.com. That's with a WWHOLISTIC Gen, holisticgen.com. You can find some ebooks on there, and I have classes every now and then, and also have a membership group, the Zen and Zest Zone, where I help you eat more whole food plant based. We want to keep the conversation going. So, what are your thoughts on animal foods and heart health? Do you agree with us or do you disagree? Because we want to hear that too. Have you experienced changes in your own health by eating more plants? And what was that like for you? We would love to hear from you. So please send us a message and please leave a review for our podcast and share this with your friends. Thank you for joining us today and let us know what you want to hear next. We'll talk to you soon.